This is the third tutorial talking about the alignment index for sales territory design. In the first tutorial we defined what the alignment index was. In the second tutorial we went through the calculation. And now in this third tutorial we're going to talk about what data to include in the alignment index. Let's make a start. So the first factor that you need to include is a factor that accounts for the workload. Now, this is generally the most important factor in any alignment index calculation. Typically, it's measured as the planned calls to target customers. And why it's the most important is because really you want to give about the same amount of physical work to each sales rep in the sales force. Now, how do you calculate the workload? Well, typically you'd calculate the size of each segment. So here we've got A, B and C of different sizes. That's the universe. And the reach, in other words, what proportion you want to see. Obviously A's, you want to see all of them. B's, virtually all of them. And C's, well, maybe you segment those such that you only see the ones close by. And then you have a target frequency. So A's 2 times a month, B's once a month, C's every other month, and that gives you the calls. And it's this target calls that we can calculate for each of the postcodes or zips in our alignment. So that's what we mean by workload. And as we say, this should be the most important factor. The index should heavily weight the workload so that each rep has roughly the right amount of work to do. Now, the second measure is a measure of potential, and sometimes you have access to market sales. Maybe if you have some very good data, you know exactly what the competitors are actually selling to each of the accounts, so you know the market size for each of the accounts and therefore each of the postcodes or zip codes. So if you have that data, then certainly use it. Sometimes you want to include the target demographic. So if your product is going to be used by people over the age of 55, then obviously the amount of potential in a given postcode or zip code is going to be highly correlated to the number of over 55s in that postcode or zip code. So this data is generally readily available, so it's a really good one to include in as a measure of potential. Purchasing power, again, this data is available for most countries, and Cosmix is actually a reseller for this. So again, it's something that is worthwhile putting in. A measure of affluence, which obviously is highly correlated in many markets to the potential. And then you could include proxies for potential. And this is really if you don't have any demographic or purchasing power data. You could use things like the size of a retail store, assuming that's your customers, the number of doctors, pharmacists, vets or opticians in each account. These are all proxies for potential that potentially you could include in an alignment index. I should also say that one of the reasons why we heavily weight workload is because it also includes a component of potential. If you think about those A's, B's and C's, A's have more potential than B's, which have more potential than C's. And therefore, by weighting 24 times a year on the A's in the previous screen, we're actually weighting potential as well. So if you calculate your workload in that way, you are including some component of potential. Another thing that you can include, and this is very much an optional factor, is your own sales. Now, some people are dead against including own sales in the alignment index. I think it actually is worthwhile to include in many situations. By including your own sales in the index, you are acknowledging the need to service existing business, and that's an important part of any business. It also helps to ensure new territories have some reasonable level of existing sales. I have in the past done alignments that are based purely or heavily on the potential and the workload, and the resulting territories were good, but they did have some new territories which in parts of the country that had not been well serviced and well called on by the sales force. And these new territories had really minuscule levels of sales, and obviously the rep that gets these territories really has a mountain to climb. They're told that, okay, the average territory has 2 million in sales, your territory has 150,000, so we're hoping you get to 2 million as quickly as possible. That's quite a message to give to a rep. So it's quite often good to include own sales as part of the index to sort of steer the design of the territories away from those sorts of situations. But it's very much an optional factor, as I say. Now, if you think about the index weights, what sort of recommendation would we give? Well, as we've said, the workload is the most important factor, and really I'd say a weight of somewhere between 50% and 100% would be appropriate. And 100% means that you're completely doing it on workload, and I have seen alignments done successfully just based purely on workload. Potential, that should probably have a weight of anywhere from 10% to 50%. And then own sales, as I say, it's optional, so certainly 0 is a possibility, but anything up to 25%. And the sort of things that you're going to consider when you're deciding on these weights is the quality of the data and what you want to achieve. So let's, just before we close this tutorial, talk about some of the data that you shouldn't include or can't include. The first one is travel time. You can't actually include travel time in the index. The index is attributes based on attributes of the postcode or zip code, and travel time is something that is dependent upon not only the attributes of the zip code, the location, but also the center of the territory. So travel time is one of those that can't be included. How you factor travel time in the alignment is in terms of the optimization algorithm and the methodology that you use to create the territories, and we'll talk about those in some future tutorials. One that you can include, but we recommend that you don't, is the size of the postcode, or the zip code. So you could have, say, this zip code is very big, therefore I'm going to actually use the area as a proxy for travel time and the amount of work associated with going around the zip code or postcode. The problem with that is most geographies, when they're created, most postcodes or zip codes, are defined such that in heavily populated areas they're very small, and in areas which are very unpopulated they're very large. So it's actually the potential and the work associated with the zip code can actually be inversely proportional to the area of the postcode or zip code. So we'd recommend that you don't include that as a measure. So that's the third tutorial on the alignment index. I hope you found it useful. You can find more about Align Mix and more tutorials on sales territory design and sales territory mapping at alignmix.com and our main website, cosmix.com.